Hey everyone, it's time to look at even more revealed cards from the upcoming Lorcana set, Rise of the Floodborn. This is the first expansion to Disney Lorcana, and it's already shaping up to be very exciting with the 23 cards we've seen so far. I previously discussed the first 13 cards if you're interested in that video, but we got another 10 cards announced this week, including 4 that were announced only hours ago. So let's dive in and break down these reveals. First up, we have Cogsworth, Talking Clock, another great character from Beauty and the Beast added to Lorcana. He's a Sapphire character, 2 ink cost inkable, 2/3 stats with 1 lore pip, and he has Storyborn and ally traits. As far as stats, Cogsworth falls in line with Donald and Minnie as well as Simba, adding a turn 2, 2/3 option to Sapphire. Simba, however, does have his very strong bodyguard ability, putting him head and shoulders above the others, and Cogsworth joins in the fun with an ability of his own with Wait a Minute. Your characters with Reckless gain exert to gain 1 lore. This is pretty interesting. It allows Reckless characters to sort of quest instead of challenge. I like how thematic it is, with Cogsworth being the voice of reason for Reckless characters like Beast. And this means as long as he's out, your Reckless characters can choose to quest through this gained ability. From a proactive angle, this mainly affects Ruby characters like Gaston or Maui, allowing them a chance to exert for 1 lore. So perhaps this is a combo destined for a Sapphire Ruby deck, but as far as I can tell, their turn to gain 1 lore probably will not synergize with Eye of the Fates, so keep that in mind. Now, I do think Cogsworth could also be used as a reaction against an incoming Reckless from your opponent, which is something a few Emerald cards like to do. John Silver, Iago, and the Beast Are Mine are examples. I don't think this protection against John Silver is all that valuable, but an exception to that might be a future Sapphire Emerald deck with Belle, Hidden Archer, Mad Hatter, and others who are great targets for throwing Reckless onto. Cogsworth could protect them, but he still only allows them to turn and gain a single lore. That's likely not worth the trouble for the counterplay, but it's a fun idea to think about going into Rise of the Floodborn. I'm sure there'll be more cards revealed that may uncover another use for Cogsworth here, but in addition to his ability, he also has a Floodborn shift target with Cogsworth Grandfather Clock. This is a super fun card, but it's kind of depressing, right? It's like Beast and all his furniture friends that were cursed by that witch never got uncursed, and so I guess they've just grown old now, and so we have Cogsworth as a grandfather. But anyways, he's a Sapphire character, 5 ink cost inkable, 2/5 stats, and able to quest for 2 lore. He's a shift 3 Floodborn as well as an ally. He has the powerful ward keyword as well as an ability called Unwind. When he's around, your other characters gain resist +1. We've seen this new resist keyword on a few revealed steel cards like Cinderella and Tiana, and now we see it splash into another ink color in a big way with Grandfather Cogsworth here. Shift turn 3 plus ward means he can come out early and stick to the board for a while. He reminds me of Aurora Dreaming Guardian, another 5 cost Sapphire character that shifts in for 3 ink. They both have similar stats and both want to stick on the board and protect allied characters. Cogsworth in particular has great sticking power because of his self-ward, meaning he can only be taken out by non-targeted removal as long as you don't exert him. And his ability to throw that resist +1 on other characters is a great blanket defense that will slow down a ton of aggression from so many staple steel cards in the current meta like Giant Tink and Grab Your Swords. I think this could be one of the better cards we've seen so far from Rise of the Floodborn, but we have a ton of cards yet to be revealed, so we'll have to wait and see. Next we have a new Flynn Rider card. This is Flynn Rider Confident Vagabond. He's an Emerald character, 1 ink cost inkable, 1/3 stats with 1 lore pip, with Storyborn, Hero, and Prince traits. I was a little surprised by that Prince trait, but I looked into it and apparently it is canon that he is a prince. And his other card, the Charming Rogue, does have the Prince trait as well. I guess I just never noticed that. But I do hope we get some Prince synergy cards somewhere in this new set or in the future. I think it would be an interesting boost to a ton of different characters. But as far as stats go for this Flynn, he joins Minnie Mouse and Olaf as 1 cost 1/3s. I'm not a huge fan of the 1/3s, but I suppose they have some good synergy with Meg or support cards like Scepter. And now Flynn will be able to bring that Meg synergy in any Emerald deck regardless of what ink it's comboed with. There's not too much more to say about this card. However, if you look at the artwork, you'll see a callback to the Charming Rogue card here. Could that mean that this other drawing of him rock climbing or rappelling is a hint at an unrevealed card? I could see it being a Dreamborn or potential Floodborn version of Flynn Rider, which is pretty cool. Next up, let's talk about Bounce. This is an Emerald action, 2 ink cost uninkable, that says, return chosen character of yours to your hand to return another chosen character to their player's hand. So right off the bat, we see some obvious synergy with a previously discussed new card, Merlin Shapeshifter. In my previous video, I misspoke, thinking that Merlin might work on banished characters returning to the hand, and although that has been clarified to not work together, I also mentioned there would likely be new cards added to work alongside Merlin, and Bounce here is clearly one of them. This card feels similar to Mother Knows Best, but for 1 less ink cost and the drawback of it not being a song. And of course, it requires you to also return one of your own characters from the field, but is that really a drawback? I think this has a ton of combo potential, from bouncing your rush characters to pulling back a character before it gets banished. You could even pull back a card like Rapunzel or a Maleficent or something to be used again with their play ability. There's really a ton of options. You could bounce back a Tinkerbell or use this alongside Rockstar Stitch minions to extend a combo. And the second bounce doesn't necessarily have to be on an opponent's character. It could be used on a second character of your own. It's no wonder this card has to stay uninkable. I think it's pretty good, and I'm curious to see even more ways to use it as people begin to actually play around with it. We have another action up next with I'm Stuck. This is an Amethyst action, 1 ink cost inkable that reads, chosen exerted character can't ready at the start of their next turn. This feels like another control tool to me that could easily become another staple in Amethyst Ruby, Amethyst Steel, or Amethyst Sapphire. I still think that Elsa Spirit of Winter is one of the most powerful cards in the game because of her ability to stall and set up challenges into the next turn. The ability to exert opposing characters or keep them exerted can mean the difference in a back and forth control match, but it can also stall out aggressive quest threats in the mid-game like Mad Hatter or Maleficent, and especially evasive characters like Goofy and Mickey BLT. I'm Stuck does require the character to already have exerted previously, but when compared to Freeze, the cheaper cost and the crucial flexibility to ink the card if needed is a huge difference maker for me. The 1 ink cost is so easy to slip into a turn when necessary. With Amethyst, you'll often be drawing mini cards and stalling out well into a double-digit inkwell. With that much ink in card draw, I'm Stuck is a welcome addition, especially when combined with Aladdin. Maybe I'm overhyping it, but I really like I'm Stuck as a new card here. And I have to say, I love the art and flavor of this card a lot too. In fact, I think this is an actual image of me every time I start playing Lorcana and end up against another Amethyst Ruby control deck. Next up, we have the Prince Never Gives Up. It's funny that we get Snow White's Prince here before an actual Snow White card. Maybe that'll be a future reveal for set 2. The Prince is a steel character, 3 ink cost inkable, 1/3 stats with 2 lore pips, with Dreamborn, Hero, and Prince traits. The Prince has 2 keywords, Bodyguard and Resist +1. He continues the trend of the Resist keyword inside of Steel, which we saw a bit of in the last video with Cinderella and Tiana. He also joins a growing collection of Bodyguard cards in Steel, including the Musketeers and the Musketeer Tabard. So perhaps he's a welcome addition to a Bodyguard or Musketeer-style deck. The easiest comparison for the Prince is Hercules, since they are both 3-cost steel bodyguards. The Prince trades off some strength for his Resist keyword and an extra lore pip, and I do think I'll take that trade and use him over Herc if I was making the choice. I also think he could be a decent choice in an aggro deck. Compare it to Simba, for example. He comes out a turn later, and with the same willpower except boosted by Resist, and he can quest for 2 each time he exerts to block with Bodyguard. I don't think he's the most exciting card we've seen from Rise of the Floodborn, but I love getting more potential synergy tools for less popular decks and with a less popular Disney character. So that's a win as far as I'm concerned. And finally, to finish up this video, we have 4 exciting brand new card reveals. These were tweeted out just a couple hours ago by Disney Lorcana. These cards were revealed as part of the organized play kit for Rise of the Floodborn. The 4 cards are Robin Hood, Capable Fighter, Minnie Mouse, Wide-Eyed Diver, Bucky, Squirrel Speak Tutor, and Cinderella, Knight in Training. This is the best image we have of the cards so far, but let's take a look anyways. There's a lot of great info here to break down. On the far right, we have Cinderella Knight in training. She's a 2 ink cost steel character, 2 strength, 2 willpower, 1 lore pip with traits of Dreamborn, Hero, Princess, and Knight. And first of all, do you see that white lore icon? That's either something special for this organized play promo, or that's a new special type of lore icon. I guess we'll have to wait and see. Regardless, her card ability says, have courage. When you play this character, you may draw a card and then choose and discard a card. We've seen this exact power before with Simba Future King, and I think it's great we get it on a 2-drop as well. This certainly helps out some steel decks that need some more card draw like Steel Ruby, or maybe the Steel Emerald Mill deck that wants to scout for a whole new world early. Plus, Cinderella can shift into the incredible Cinderella Stout-Hearted for 5 ink, so I'm very excited about this card and I think it could become quite the staple in the game. Just below her, we see another fantastic addition to Lorcana, Bucky Squirrel Speak Tutor. He's a 2-cost inkable emerald character. His willpower and strength aren't visible, but his ability appears to read as, whenever you play a Floodborn character, each opponent chooses and discards perhaps a card from their hand. It could go a few different ways, but I think that's likely the general idea. I won't speculate too much since I can't confirm the ability, but having a card that activates based on your Floodborn units is a great mechanism to add into Lorcana, especially during this set that is so Floodborn focused. Below Bucky, we see a new Floodborn Minnie Mouse card, Minnie Mouse Wide-Eyed Diver. She can shift in for 2 and she's evasive. Her card ability is Undersea Adventure. It's quite a bit harder to interpret, so don't hold me to this prediction, but it seems like it says, whenever you play a certain type of action in a turn, this character gets +2 lore this turn. I think it's possible the card may say whenever you play a unique action. This would ensure you can't simply spam the same 1 and 2 cost actions to get a crazy quest turn out of Minnie. Another prediction I have is it could say whenever you play a Ruby action or something like that, again limiting your choices a bit. Regardless, any of these outcomes is super interesting and seems super powerful, so I can't wait to find out more. But I don't want to speculate too hard without knowing for sure. One thing is certain though, Minnie here will be a fantastic turn 2 shift onto our existing Ruby Minnie Mouse, and I'm super excited to try out this card in December. And last but not least, we have Robin Hood Capable Fighter. He's a 2 ink cost uninkable. Again, we're unable to see his strength and willpower stats, but his power likely reads Skirmish, exert to deal 1 damage to chosen character. The words and spacing are identical to Plasma Blaster, so I think it's likely the same ability, other than the additional ink cost Plasma Blaster has. Because the ability is attached to a character with stats rather than an item, I think it could see more play than Plasma Blaster has. But overall, it's nothing too fancy going on, especially with all the new resist cards we have coming in Rise of the Floodborn. But hey, I'm still excited for this and all these cards, and so I'm happy that we get a sneak peek. And remember, we have other character hints as well with Beast, Sisu, and now a new Rapunzel. We can see her artwork on the newly released Organized Play pins. But that's all the info I have for today. Thanks for tuning in. I'll try to report in on other new cards as they are revealed. Otherwise, I'll be focusing on more deck lists and deck guides, so if you're interested in that, please subscribe and hit that notification bell. I really appreciate the support on the channel over the last month. Thank you for taking the time to watch through my video here, and I'll see you in the next one.